Hey everybody, this is Adam here at David French Music, and we're doing a series of videos on instrument maintenance, how to keep your instrument in tip-top shape, day to day, week to week, and in between times you come see us at the repair shop to get professional repair services or cleaning. In this video, we're going to be talking about all things trumpet. So with the trumpet, there's a lot of different things going on. So we'll start without the instrument, we'll start just with the mouthpiece. This is arguably one of the most overlooked pieces of the instrument to keep clean, to keep maintained, and one of the most important as far as the overall sound of the instrument. If we don't keep the mouthpiece in tip-top shape, anything closest to where we're playing the instrument, closer to our face, is going to affect every other thing happening in the instrument. So the mouthpiece is stop number one. The first thing I recommend doing is mouthpiece cleaning. So I'm going to find my mouthpiece brush here. I like to do this at least once every couple weeks, if not once a month, depending on how hygienic you are of a player. A nice trick to do is to check down the actual back bore of the mouthpiece, or you could check the other way from the shank. See if you can see the light of day through the other side. See if you can see all the edges of the inside of the mouthpiece without any little mountains or formations inside of that mouthpiece. We want the actual throat or the inside of this part of the mouthpiece to be totally clear because it affects the sound you're getting in the instrument. If the answer is no, I can't see the light of day, it's always a good idea to invest in a trumpet mouthpiece brush. Super inexpensive, you can get them anywhere online, any major music store retailer or website. To clean a trumpet mouthpiece, you're just going to go in through the shank of the mouthpiece. For most student mouthpieces, they're made of a silver plate, so this can withstand cold, warm, and hot water. So just use your favorite with some dish soap or hand soap, and I'm going to run that mouthpiece up from the shank, up through the top until you can see it pop out the other side, while I'm running it under warm water, cold water, and some soap. This will help clean out all the buildup in the mouthpiece, will keep everything nice and sanitized, and will make your instrument sound much better. The other big thing to be considering here is the shape of the shank. This is a big one, and I remember when I was a trumpet student, not really knowing. My mouthpiece would hit the floor, and it would become a random shape at the bottom. So we all know the shape of the shank should be a circle. If it's a square, triangle, trapezoid, you might want to fix that. The way to do this, and you might not have to buy this yourself, this would be great for a band director to have, or for a private instructor that has a studio of musicians. This is a mouthpiece truing tool. It's made of steel, and it's tapered in just the right increment to fit most mouthpieces. Trumpet, some trombone, all the way up to euphonium and tuba, depending on the taper of the actual throat of the mouthpiece. With the truing tool, you're going to just lightly insert it down from the shank, and you're going to also need to invest in a rawhide mallet. This is just the smallest, it's about a 1 ounce hammer. It's not very heavy, and it's not expensive at all. What we want to do here is once we've got the truing tool inserted, if your mouthpiece is really dented, you might want to give it a little bit extra torque, but you don't have to be too hard on it. You can just lightly hammer. If it's really dented, you might need to hammer a little bit harder, but don't miss, don't hurt yourself. After you go around the mouthpiece a few times, it should return to a circle, if not perfect, much closer than it was before. Great idea to get one of these, or encourage your band director or private teacher to have these. Truing tool and a rawhide mallet. Before we get into the actual instrument itself, Mouthpiece Metal varieties. So I won't talk about it from the angle of what you should get. I'll talk about it from a preventative measure type of idea. So these are just student level mouthpieces. They're both silver plated. One's a little bit newer than the other. And these two mouthpieces here are raw brass. They almost look like gold, except they're a little bit darker in color, and they start to turn a really dark brown, which is called patina over time. Now, if you play an older mouthpiece, or you have grandma or grandpa's horn, you have this older mouthpiece with it maybe, raw brass is a really bad idea to be interacting with your skin because it has a lead content in it. Lead makes mouthpieces easier to machine and manufacture, which inevitably makes it more enticing to get brass stock with lead in it so you can make the mouthpiece. What that means for us when we play a raw brass mouthpiece and we put it up to our skin, it's similar to eating too much fish. Mercury content is going to compound in your body and cause poisoning over time. Same is true with lead. That'll cause poisoning over time to your skin. And if you have really sensitive skin, it can even cause some other issues like blistering and some scarring. So if you have a raw brass mouthpiece, throw them out, get yourself a newer equivalent in silver plate, but there are many different finishes that you can explore and see what you want to do there. Moving into the actual trumpet here, there's a few different things, and I'll stay very general just to help you maintain your instrument. We'll start with the valves. So the biggest thing we need to do, and it's a lot of times ignored by students and some professionals too, keeping them oiled. And over here I have a nice little array of just synthetic valve oil that's distributed by Yamaha. Why synthetic valve oil is so good is because traditional valve oil has different molecular structure to it. They have molecules of oil that are bigger, smaller, medium. What that means is if I put non-synthetic oil on my valves, over time as the temperature changes from season to season, or if you play outside and inside, the smaller molecules will dissolve and dissipate first, causing the larger ones just to create a gummy, older, corroded, compounded oil. That's where we get sticky valves and slides from, very generally speaking. So what's nice is most manufacturers make a synthetic oil. So this one we'll talk about Yamaha, and we'll start with the regular synthetic oil. What they've engineered are uniform sized molecules that when oiled regularly on your valves will wear down evenly. So you're never ever going to get that gummy feeling, which is great. My trumpet can go for months and months and months with just regular oiling and greasing and never feeling that problem. Another cool element, while I'm plugging Yamaha, is the anti-corrosive that they put in there too. There's an element that when you keep a coat of oil and grease when using their products actually stops the metal from deteriorating, which is great. So if you are out in the market to get some valve oil, make sure 1, it's a synthetic. 2, if you're looking for Yamaha, it also has that anti-corrosive property in it, which is cool. Just for fun, they make 4 different viscosities or thicknesses. So we'll start with the very thinnest. This is super light for like euphonium, flugelhorn, tuba pistons, really tight fitting pistons that are gonna have very little clearance in between the actual piston, the Monel part of the piston, and the casing, and the oil. So it will create a faster feel. Moving on down the line, we have light valve oil. This is good for professional trumpets, professional flugelhorns. This keeps things moving fast, but doesn't have to be oiled as frequently as the super light. Regular valve oil, which is just Yamaha's stock valve oil that comes with almost every brass instrument, every student trumpet, and most pro trumpets. And then for older trumpets, the most viscous, the thickest oil they make is vintage, which is great if you're using an older trumpet, cornet, or flugelhorn where the metal has started to wear away. This will help keep everything moving as good as it can. So pick up a bottle of that. That'll help keep those valves moving. Alternatively, you could get any synthetic, like I said. I have another example here. Hetman also makes a very nice synthetic valve oil that comes in many different thicknesses and in different numbers, starting from the thinnest being the lowest number up to the thickest being their highest number. So moving on down the line here, we can talk about our slides, which on the trumpet we have 4 of them. Number 1, 2, 3, and your main tuning slide here. There's a couple different ways to tackle this. So as a student or a blossoming professional, there are 4 different main synthetic oils I like to use here. And what we have are Hetman number 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's light slide, slide, heavy slide, and slide gel. 4, 5, 6, 7. What these do are just different things for your slides depending on how fast they need to move. For number 4, the light slide, I usually love to apply that to number 1 and my number 3 slides. This helps keep them moving as fast as possible and helps me tune notes, very generally speaking. For maybe slides that are a little looser fitting, or if you don't want them to just fly off your instrument, regular slide oil number 5 is great. Number 6, heavy slide is good for if we want just some motion but without it moving too fast. I love putting these on student instruments. It just helps keep the function of the slide without the risk of anything falling apart or getting damaged. For my second valve slide and my main tuning slide, I like using Hetman number 7, which is slide gel. That is a very thick type of grease that allows the slide to move to a certain position and then just stay there when I want something to be tuned and stay in that position. For all these greases and oils, I like to be doing it at least once a week, if not even more. Every couple days sometimes is great. Because inside of valves and inside of slides, there is a very small amount of empty space. So if we allow all of that oil and grease to just disappear and dissolve, you're going to have small leaks in the instrument, as well as if you don't have any oil or any type of grease helping prevent corrosion. As we introduce moisture and we introduce our enzymes into the instrument, it's going to cause mineral deposits, it's going to cause just things to start getting really stuck and to not work for you. So just make sure you're staying diligent about that. That'll help keep everything moving. A couple more topics here before we conclude on Trumpet. The next one is water key corks. This is a great one. This is very similar to woodwind pads. Not only do they stop moisture from coming out of the instrument, but they actually act as a pad that causes the instrument to resonate better or worse. So what's really nice, and we'll do a close-up video of this so you can see it a little clearer. When a water key cork is dead versus when it's brand new, it's totally dead when the impression goes down more than halfway through the cork. It's not really sealing well anymore, and you can even see on some of the worst case scenarios, it starts getting this mold and mildew buildup in the middle of it, because if water gets trapped there over time, like I said before, it introduces all of these types of minerals and deposits to just build up over time. So check out those water key corks. If it looks like they've been through some harsh battles, some terrible times, that's a good indicator that your whole instrument should probably come in for servicing, and we can replace those for you. Moving on down, polishing. There's a couple different ways that you can tackle this. On a student trumpet, they're made of raw brass that is then polished and then clear lacquered on top, which makes it just retain its shininess for a really long time. With clear lacquer, what's really cool about that is you could spray it with a disinfectant or with any type of isopropyl alcohol, and you can wipe it down with a cotton cloth and you're A-okay. You don't have any pads to worry about. Corks are pretty water resistant, so you're not going to get anything damaged there. And you can wipe it off either with that or just a regular cotton cloth. Like I said, I have a Yamaha, just a blue cotton cloth, polishing cloth here. That's great to use if you like to keep your trumpet in tip-top shape. For professional horns, for silver-plated horns, you could definitely go a few different routes. First one would be a Selmer plated finish polishing cloth. They're usually yellow in color. They work very similarly to this cotton cloth, only they already have the compound in the cloth to polish silver. That's a great way. Or if you would prefer a liquid or a cream way, a great polish to use is called Simichrome, S-I-M-I-C-H-R-O-M-E. It can be applied to the surface of the silver and cleaned off with a regular cloth. Cotton cloth would be good for that as well. And what's nice about this Simichrome is it has no abrasives in it, so it's not going to scratch your finish. So if you're a player who likes to keep it as shiny as possible for as long as possible, I would do that as often as you see fit. But in the repair shop, when you come to get it serviced, which we recommend at least once a year if possible, we will take care of that all for you, which is great. To close it out, for trumpet, should we bathe it on our own? Trumpet baths. What's that all about? Trumpet bathing is kind of a controversial topic, and the reason being is not that they're bad necessarily, but because you don't have a professional way to really dry all the inside of the tubing in your pistons. And like I said, if we introduce moisture and water to an instrument, and that moisture stays over time, it's going to create all those deposits and buildup, which we run the risk of when we clean it on our own. So if you so choose, trumpet baths are fine. You can clean it all in warm water. Just make sure you take slides apart. You can take tuning slide all the way up. You can take different moving slides off, take your pistons out, clean them with some warm soap and water. If you use soap, make sure you go through the whole thing again and you rinse it off. We don't want soap to stay inside of the instrument. And then be really diligent about trying to dry it off. This can just be with cloths or paper towels, or if you have a hair dryer, it'd be great to get inside of those pipes and get the water away. If you're nervous about it at all, don't worry about it. Just make sure you bring it in and you're oiling and greasing it every week and you bring it in once a year. You should be fine that way too. But these are just some great tips and tricks to help keep your trumpet in tip-top shape and help you maintain it better before you come see us here at the shop.